I grew up on a ranch in an extremely rural community near the Itcha Mountains in BC, Canada. My dad's grandfather settled the valley our ranch was in the late 1800s. My dad grew up there. He helped build his parents' home, where he lives to this day. The house I grew up in, however, was built when he married my mom and I came to be. It has since been sold, and I don't know offhand if the new owners have ever experienced anything there. To give a bit of geographical insight, our ranch bordered a First Nations carrier reservation. I can't claim our ranch to be on Indian burial ground, but it certainly was part of their regular migratory area. I can't tell you an exact day or time period when I became aware of the presence in our house. For me, it had always been there. I have extremely vivid memories of being under the age of 5 and asking my mom about the man in the basement, wearing denim overalls and a wide-brim hat. I remember screaming and crying as I ran up the basement stairs. They were open steps, and you could see through them, convinced the monster in the basement was going to grab my feet and yank me back down. I had this belief because I have vivid memories of falling on those stairs plenty of times. Our basement was also unfinished. We had a log home on a log foundation dug into a hillside. The floor was cemented in most of the basement, but toward the back, it was all dirt, even the back wall. The activity wasn't limited to the basement, however. I have memories of my mother getting extremely upset because things had been moved in the kitchen or living room area. They would go missing, and she couldn't find them. My mother had OCD. Everything had a very specific spot it belonged, and it had to be put back in its spot, or she would become extremely irritated and frazzled. Growing up, my playroom was also in the office library room, and I remember talking a lot while I was playing. Mind you, I was an only child, so this isn't uncommon behavior. However, I remember it seemed to unnerve my mom, and she would ask me who I was talking to. I would shrug with an, I don't know. Our bedrooms were all upstairs, and upstairs seemed to have the most activity, with my parents' room ironically having the least. I had my own room, the same room, from the time I was in my crib to the day I graduated and left home. The same wallpaper, the same door. Everything. The door was very old. It was solid wood and had the type of knob and skeleton key design you'd find in really vintage doors. This door was heavy and didn't move easily, yet I had, on more than one occasion, watched this door click open, as if someone turned the handle and opened it, and swing all the way open, only to watch it slowly close later as time passed, as if inching closed extremely slowly, until it clicked shut again. In the dead of night, I would hear the sound, the clicking of my door opening, and I would snap awake from a dead sleep, terror coursing through my body. The thing about living in the middle of nowhere in a forest is that there is no light at night, save for whatever illumination you get from the moon. The darkness in my room at times would be equivalent, whether my eyes were open or closed. Yet, on more than one occasion, I would shoot awake to the sound of my door opening and watch as an inky darkness, a blackness that was blacker than black, if you can imagine, would crawl into my room. I say crawl because I don't know how else to describe it. Imagine, if you will, an octopus of pure, endless darkness, with all its tentacles moving into a room, pulling itself in by the doorframe, wall, and ceiling. For years, I would see this in pure horror, and when I could finally use my voice, I would scream bloody murder until one of my parents came to my rescue, turning on the light and making everything return to normal. This happened for years, until eventually my parents stopped coming to my screams. I would hide under my covers, crying and begging whatever it was to go away. Eventually, I moved my bed closer to my bedroom light switch, so when it happened, it was one quick movement for the light to come on, and everything to disappear. Many nights, if I did drift back to sleep, my light stayed on for the rest of the night. As I got older, I stopped seeing the inky blackness, but I could feel it, the unshakable feeling of being watched, a shiver running down my spine from time to time. But what I could never shake, never get to stop, was the voices. A few times it was a little girl speaking right in my ear and waking me up from a dead sleep with a hello and a playful giggle. Once it was, "Who are you?" A question so clear and vivid that I popped awake and looked around, completely expecting to find her next to my bed, only to be completely alone. Other times it was my mom's voice, or my dad's, calling me from downstairs, only for me to go look and find they weren't even home. I understand that most of this could be brushed off and excused as a child's overactive imagination or something of the sort. But my parents would mention things as well, including experiencing these types of things together in the same room. Footsteps upstairs, when all three of us were downstairs. Knocking, scratching, thumping. They would joke nervously about it just being the ghost, as if mocking the idea, but over the years it became less mocking and more of an understanding that, indeed, that was what we were hearing. When my mother passed in 2016, my dad decided to sell our home and move back to his childhood home, which had sat empty further up the valley but closer to neighbors. We took a few days to pack up the house, years of memories and years of collecting stuff. I distinctly recall a moment when my dad and I sat in the kitchen, packing up my mother's spices and cookbooks. My dad joked about how long it was taking and how it would be quicker just to light a match. No sooner had he muttered the words than my mom's big cinnamon spice container flew off the shelf and halfway across the 10 feet of kitchen. My dad and I looked at each other in pure shock. Then my dad, being the jokester he is, quickly responded, "Guess she didn't like that joke," making reference to him believing it was my mom's spirit who had made the spice jar move like that. I'm inclined to believe that as well. We still mention it from time to time and have a chuckle. My dad fully admits now that he thinks our house truly was haunted. He has told me he has his own stories in that regard. I have been many places since I lived there, and have lived in at least one house that gave me the heebie-jeebies. But I have never seen or experienced anything remotely close to what I experienced in that home. I have more stories and experiences, like feeling my bed shake, etc. But there are honestly so many that it is hard to sit down and think of them all and put them into a comprehensive story. Suffice it to say, if you have any questions or would like more information or details, feel free to ask. I could even possibly get you pictures if you'd like. Just remembered something about my dog bringing home 1920s flapper-style shoes, both men's and women's. No idea from where. Just really odd and creepy. It's strange. I haven't lived there in almost 20 years, and if I close my eyes, I can see every inch of that home in vivid detail in my mind. The smell of the logs on a hot summer day, or the feel of the wood fireplace and its light reflecting off the polished log walls. The way the sliding patio door looked out over the pastures and animals. In a way, I miss it, but I will never miss the feeling of never being able to fully relax. I'm thankful to say the home my husband and I have built for our family, while sometimes messy and chaotic, is always warm, cozy, and comfortable.